Alright fellas, here we're back in Pokemon Masters. Today we're going to look at Sygna Suit N and Kyurem Black and see how well they've aged pretty much a year later. I mean, they dropped in the middle of November, it's the late end of October. Basically a year, we'll round up. So yeah, this guy, a lot of people had some pretty controversial things. He was pretty controversial, just as a sync pair in general. People have a lot of things to say about him, mostly on the negative side of the spectrum. But hey, we're going to look at him here, see how good he is at 1 out of 5, level 140 with the EX. I think he's not as bad as people like try and say he is, but I do think that obviously he's got his faults, right? Every unit has their faults. I think this guy's are more apparent than a lot of others, but I do think that he can still be used in a lot of good areas. So yeah, let's go ahead on to some battles and see just what N is able to do here. Alright, here's our first battle against Chantal. I kind of hopped in a little bit too quickly here, but we do have Champion Iris as well as Irida to put alongside Sygna Suit N here, and they're pretty good partners for him, realistically. I mean, Iris shares the Unova theme skill, so you got that synergy. Irida shares the Ice theme skill for that synergy, plus Iris obviously applies the attack debuffs as well as defense debuffs with Defense Crush as her lucky skill, and Irida applies the Flying Zone, no, not Flying, Ice Zone, rather. Yeah, Ice Zone, as well as, I guess, Hail, but, you know, we don't really need that. Obviously, a lot of people's complaints here with N is his Free Shock ability. I can definitely see why it's a 2-turn charge up move, but you know, you can get results like that out of it sometimes, so it's not too bad occasionally. So we get very, very lucky actually here with Iris and her Breaking Swipe defense crushes, because we managed to land every single defense crush, and it's a 30% chance each, so I kind of just rolled my luck out for my whole life at that point. But whatever, right? So you saw some pretty good damage there. Here's the nuke, does some very, very nice damage to the side there. Yeah, 32,000 damage, that's very, very strong, of course. We go ahead and just queue up another Free Shock. I don't want to KO with Irida, so I just kind of hold off. I queue up that Free Shock there, attack that side. And it does really good damage, of course, obviously. You know, 20,000 damage, that's very, very strong. And then I think here... yeah, queue up the Buddy Noble Roar just so I can have that queued up. Just have a random move queued up so I can use N sync move. I think that's what I plan to do. I don't remember. I don't remember what my goal was here. It may just be it was Free Shock, right? Yeah, that's what I did. So we have -6 defense here. We just go for the Free Shock under Ice Zone. 1 sync buff, no support EX, but really this is pretty much his max setup against ice enemies for the most part. 35,000 damage is obviously really good, right? He's very, very strong on type, just able to provide so much just pure power. Obviously the power is in the form of a 2-turn move, so you know it could look obviously a lot better, but still not too bad, right? And that is, of course, a very juiced setup, so do consider that as with, you know, his pretty much his best partners. There are some better partners like Special Costume Steven you could do, or maybe someone else or whatever, but obviously Irida with her Ice Zone, as well as anyone who can do attack debuffs and defense debuffs are pretty much, you know, going to be N's best friend here. You could also do some Master Passive stuff, which we do later on in the video, so there is that, but overall, well, we do have the Irida Master Passive, but still, you know, right? It's nothing crazy. Plus, I think hers only applies to special moves, so I could be wrong. But yeah, that was a setup with, you know, this pretty juiced setup versus Ice Week. Let's move on to a less juiced setup versus Ice Week. Here's a full free-to-play setup. We've got ourselves BP Clement as well as Getsus with his, you know, Grid Expansion, EX, everything like that, because it is available now, his EX specifically. Grid Expansion available in a few days. But this is pretty much just using Getsus to do the attack debuffing that N wants, as well as Clement for special defense debuff, or rather, physical defense debuffing, sorry. So pretty much the same thing as the last setup, except no Master Passive, and also, obviously, quite a bit more gauge, or less gauge rather, and no Ice Zone as well. So the fundamental debuffs are the same, but you know, no Ice Zone, no Master Passive, so it's pretty limiting on what we have here. But we're still able to land some pretty solid damaging Free Shocks here, able to go for N's nuke on that Palisand over there, and able to get in some pretty good damage, right? We go ahead and go for that Noble Roar, -4 attack, because N's innate multiplier is, you know, pecking order, where it has more attack debuffs lowered, or just more attack lowered than powers up the sync move, so at that -6, it's pretty much capped out, but -4, good enough. So here we just queue up the Buddy Noble Roar, because we don't have enough to queue up the Buddy Free Shock, or the normal Free Shock rather, sorry. This Buddy move is pretty iffy, because it does give a super effective next, physical moves next, free moves next, that type of stuff, and it debuffs all enemies attack, special attack, and speed by 2, but it's just still iffy, right? It's still quite iffy of a move, because you do have to sacrifice a turn of Free Shock to do that, and obviously, you know, very minimal reward for how much time it takes to get. Obviously, Pokemon Masters is kind of a time game, so you do have to worry about that, but we are able to get very good damage out of that Free Shock, right? It'll do some very, very nice damage there, and it looks pretty impressive, right? But that was, of course, with super effective next and physical moves next +1, so do consider that. But of course, you can obviously give him those things normally, right? You have characters like Dana, Champion Red, or not Champion Red, Red and Snorlax. Don't want to call him Classic Red, but whatever, right? These characters can give you a character super effective next. Special Costume Steven, them. But still, N's able to provide it for himself, and he's able to get some pretty solid results out of it. Though realistically, most of the time, if you are using N, you just want a support character that can debuff enemy attack. Obviously, all the Reshiram, Kyurem, they both work for attack debuffing. Champion Iris, they work for attack debuffing. All these characters can do it pretty well. Anyone with Noble Roar, they're pretty much just a better option to bring as like your side character because they also synergize well with N. So you don't really want to go for Buddy Noble Roar. Just go for Free Shocks. It'll do a lot more damage, right? But anyway, yeah, that was the the free-to-play Ice Week battle for N. Pretty much just using some limited partners here, and yeah, it's not too bad, right? It's not too bad. So let's move on to an off-type battle and see what he does there. Alright, here we are versus Marshall. This is less so a showcase of N's damage and more so a showcase of Anniversary N's damage. Not really. Kind of, but not really. So we use Anniversary N here for the Master Passive. So you got 2 Unova characters here, Master Passive boost, yippee. But more so the fact that we're able to do some, they synergize relatively well, right? They both are on different offenses, attack and special attack, which is annoying, but you're both able to do some pretty solid debuffing here, especially with the offenses specifically. And we have Cynthia over here. Watch Cynthia for the crit buffs for Anniversary N, as well as speed debuffs to activate his innate of Power Play. Yeah, I think it's Power Play. Anyway, yeah, we're able to use the combination of Buddy Noble Roar and Noble Roar together to get a lot of attack debuffs in pretty quickly, so we can get a very, very strong nuke in with Anniversary N. And of course, the sync countdown we get from Better Prepared, or is it Too Prepared? Whatever the ability is called that Sygna N has, he's able to provide us some sync countdown, meaning we don't have to really worry about getting a quad Q here, though we do anyway, right? So that's good. But we're able to queue up our Free Shock, which of course with the +1 physical moves next, it's going to do some extra damage. So that's very, very nice as well, right? So there is that. And then we just keep going for these Rock Tombs with Cynthia just for the extra, debuffs and whatnot. And then we go for the the Blue Flare there with Anniversary N. And we go ahead and land our Free Shock as well with this N. So, or no, we queue it up rather, sorry. We do land, I forget. I forget things, sorry. But yeah, we do land that Free Shock there, which is nice. Probably would have been a solid idea to go for a Free Shock with Sygna N here, but oh well, it's fine. I wanted to queue up a Blue Flare as fast as I could, just in case, I didn't KO the middle here, but didn't have to worry about that, so oh well, it's fine though. Not really a big issue. Go ahead, we get a good KO in there, thankfully, because of the Buddy Noble Roar buffs we're able to provide, and we go ahead and use the Buddy Noble Roar again for some physical moves next, and just, the ability to queue up a move. Very underrated. Cynthia obviously being weak to grass, just straight up gets obliterated, right? Because I did give them a lot of offensive power, so do have to worry about that, but it's fine. Not really a big problem. We go ahead and land our Free Shocks and Blue Flares, whatever, and just KO the enemy. It's fine, right? Not the prettiest win, of course, but hey, they synergize relatively well, the Anniversary N and Sygna N, right? As well as, I'd say all of them besides Zekrom synergize pretty well. Kyurem Black, and Reshiram, they all synergize pretty well with each other. Mostly because they all require the same sort of debuffs. Getsus requires attack and special attack debuffs, Anniversary N requires them, Sygna N requires attack debuffs, and he also requires special attack debuffs if you have them 3 out of 5. Right? They all kind of rely on each other, right? So, there's that. And they're all able to apply Paralysis, Burn, and Freeze. That's funny, now that I think about it. But anyway, yeah, so that was the N boosting N Duke, I guess you could call it. Sygna N boosting Anniversary N kind of situation, plus, double Master Passive, so that was nice. So yeah, that was the off-type with the double N setup. Let's go ahead and move on to the final stadium battle. Alright, here is pretty much just a triple ice setup. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm just going to say that Sygna N off-type is not really something he can do very well by himself. Not like, these recent characters who can just do 500 million damage on their own. He is definitely one of those characters, at 1 out of 5, sorry. At 1 out of 5, he can't really do anything by himself. 3 out of 5, maybe, but 1 out of 5 here. So we pretty much just combine him here with the strong abilities of Neo Champion Red, who applies the ice rebuff, as well as just pretty good damage overall. Pretty good damage, very good damage overall. As well as Dana here just for the triple ice master passive. That's mostly why she's here. Because we do get the Kanto Master Passive with Red, which isn't providing too much to us, but, it's something. And it's also providing a lot for Dana, or from Dana there because of her Ice Teamwork Master Passive skill, so we're getting some boosts from that as well. And it's pretty much just, Ice ramping, if you want to call it that. We use Red here to do the nuke, -6, or -2 rather, on the Ice rebuff. So it's pretty much the same thing as having Zone, except we don't have Zone active either, so a little bit iffy there. But Dana's able to survive some attacks very, very well. Probably should have held off on using her trainer move until they queued up that Hyper Beam, because that could have been really strong. But thankfully, because of N here and his sync countdown abilities, we're able to queue up enough moves and get enough sync countdown in order to get our next sync move. So that's very, very nice there. We do paralyze, obviously, with that first free shock that we did, so we can't freeze them with red, which is annoying, but it's not the biggest problem in the world. But as you can see here, they go for another Hyper Beam, so you do have to worry about that. In this situation, right before using red sync move, it probably would have been a better idea to go for Blizzard instead of the Frozen Wings Ice Beam, but sadly, whatever, I didn't think about it in the time. It doesn't matter, because these characters just, specifically red, decimates everything in his path anyway, so, you know, who really cares? So yeah, they KO Dana there with the Hyper Beam, because it's a fucking Hyper Beam, what do you expect? And then we just go for the free shock here, pretty good damage, 9,000 damage, pretty nice, obviously. But I mean, it's also a 2-turn move, so do keep that in mind. All of these are pretty much 2-turn moves, so you know you got to deal with that fact. Ice Beam probably would have been better to queue up on that left side instead of the right side here, but I, again, didn't think about it. But it doesn't matter. Red finishes him off with the Blizzard anyway, and goodbye, right? So yeah, triple ice ramping, not too bad either. Obviously, N doesn't synergize too well with these characters, but he was able to get some good damage in, right? The 9,000 damage on that free shock, not too bad. But it did take some, you know, sacrificing stuff by, you know, basically it's a 2-turn move, so split the damage in half, and that's realistically what you're getting in terms of your DPS, but it's fine. It's not really too big of an issue. We were able to win anyway, and Red is also able to provide a lot for us, just in terms of overall damage, and plus the Ice rebuff was very, very good. Dana being able to apply the Ice Master passive was mostly a big reason why she was even here, and obviously being a relatively good tank, bar the fact she just got murdered by that Hyper Beam, but that was more so a misplay on my part, right? More so a misplay on my part. Anyway, yeah, that was the battle versus not Marshall, I don't even know who faced Caitlyn, right? So, yeah, let's go ahead and go to a Legendary Arena and see how N is able to fare there. Right here versus Latios, we've got Maylene, Iris, and Sygna, and let's go ahead and hop into the battle. So, Maylene here is for some crit buffs for Iris, as well as attack buffs to top off N, as well as in case we get our stats debuffed. And then Iris here is just to cover some of the dragon stuff. Also, of course, it's a pretty free setup, I guess you could say, right? It's not really anything super greedy in terms of what, you know, they require and whatnot, so it's not too bad in that department. Let's go ahead and use a free shock here. Are going to take a little bit of damage probably from the start of the battle, but that's not really too big of a problem. I'm not worried about it. Land our nice free shock, that's not bad. Paralysis is fine, I guess. It's nothing insane. Honestly, probably would have been just better to go for Iris's nuke here. I'll go for the Buddy Noble Roar here soon. I do want to get some, I want to get crit buffs for Maylene as well as be able to get some speed buffs in. That's mostly why I did that. Alright, nuke's going to do nothing, but it's whatever. We'll try and ramp up as fast as possible. Thankfully, N is pretty good with his debuffs because he's able to, you know, obviously the more their stats are lower, the less damage we can take. So that's very, very good for us. And he's pretty self-sufficient in his, you know, debuffing as well as his free moves next and whatnot. I mean, he doesn't really need too much support, so I think that's actually very, very good. Iris has less than Confusion 9, so the fact that she hit herself is actually fucking hilarious. Whatever. Let's go ahead and land our free shock, and we should be able to take out, assuming we land our next outrage, we should be able to take out the Latios there. Okay. And we'll go ahead and go for another X. Yeah, we'll just go for that. It's fine. And then Buddy Noble Roar. Awesome. And then we can go for N's nuke, and they have -2 in the attack, so that's good for us. Okay. Now let's go for the Buddy Noble Roar, and we'll nuke the middle, though probably still isn't going to do too much damage, realistically speaking. And Outrage, okay. Double flinch. Wow. Wow, okay. Wow, you got lucky. Okay, fair enough, I guess. Whatever. Nuke didn't crit, that's fine. Well, this is quite the pickle I'm in. Oh well. Alright, I'm not worried about it. I get to land more free shocks, so I don't really care. Okay. And can I... Okay, thank you. I can finally make a move. Good lord, that's funny. And Drain Punch, sure. We'll get some heals in, that's fine. And there we go. And Buddy Noble Roar is queued back up, and we can go for the nuke right now and just probably KO Latios in a single go. Because it is buffing its attack back a little bit, but... And a special attack, of course, as well. But it's not too big of an issue. -5 attack. That's good enough for me. And we have, yeah, +6 attack, so we're good on this end, too. And we'll go ahead and just use a Drain Punch. That's fine. That's fine. I don't know if this will this one-shot Latios? There's a good chance. We have enough sync buffs. Good chance, not a guaranteed chance. Though I'm pretty sure we also didn't crit on that, so no wonder. Okay, that's fine. And so we get healing from Maylene. KO the middle there. Yeah, I figured, yeah, obviously Iris is going to go down. But that's fine. That's not a big issue. That's not too big of a problem. Do some good damage here. Free shock. KO the Latios. And we'll go for another free shock. That's fine. Okay. It's going to require a little bit of luck here to survive. Hopefully we do. Very, very close to not. There we go. Nearly KO'd its elements. That could help. Oh well, close enough. Okay, and we barely lived. There we go. Okay, we still got the win in though, and it was a pretty free setup, I would say, for the most part, right? I mean, Maylene plus Iris. Not exactly what I call a gauge-heavy team. And we got the KO in. We got very, very lucky with those rock slide dodges though. Otherwise, yeah, whatever though. That's fine. So yeah, Sygna's in, pretty solid. Pretty slow battle, of course, but at least he's self-sufficient in his free moves next, attack debuffs, physical moves next, super effective next, whatever. Free shock damage is not too bad. Nuke isn't bad either. Obviously, he'd look a lot better at 3 out of 5, plus at 3 out of 5, he has the ability, or is it 5 out of 5? I don't remember what the ability is. We'll have to look here. I know he has a good ability for these legendary arenas. I think it's, yeah, okay. At 5 out of 5, he gets ready for anything. 5, which basically reduces your damage received by 50% when he is in the attack preparation stage. So basically right before he uses free shock. But yeah, anyway, overall Sygna's in. I like him, honestly. I do. At 1 out of 5 EX. I don't think he's pretty good, but obviously he's very, very clunky. He's got relatively gimmicky. He's very unconventional with his play style. And I can definitely see a lot of the holes that people, you know, are pointing out with him, right? Because he does have some pretty big problems. The Buddy Noble Roar is just pretty much never worth it to use except in like a legendary arena. And free shock is pretty weird with its damage, right? Like it's not immediate. That's a big problem, is that maybe you'll want a little bit of immediate damage, but you won't be able to get it with free shock because it does take 2 turns to charge. It can be a problem in some cases, but overall I don't think its damage is too bad. And the nuke's fine. Whatever, it's nothing crazy because this is 1 out of 5. He doesn't have all of his multipliers. But anyway, yeah. That's my overview for Sygna Suit N, and I guess I'll look at him about a year later. I'm releasing this because the St. Pair Scout has just re-released with Sygna Suit Hilda, Hilbert, and N. So if you pick up N, you can use this video as a little bit of a reference to see just how useful he can be. But yeah, I'll see you all later. I hope you all enjoyed.